Austria has presented a memorial plaque to Shanghai and its residents in gratitude for the help given to Jews fleeing persecution during the Second World War. In the late 1930s, about 2,000 Jews fled Austria and found shelter in Shanghai. The key person who made this happen was the then Chinese Consul General to Vienna, Ho Fengshan. Li Qiong has the story.
The world remembers Oskar Schindler for saving over 1,000 Jews in World War II. But there's a lesser-known name remembered for the same reason, Ho Fengshan. Ho was appointed Consul General of China to Vienna soon after Austria was annexed by Germany in 1938. At the end of that year, Nazi-led mob violence took place against Jews. More than 30,000 Jews were detained in a concentration camp. For them, leaving is the only way to survive.
At night, my family members and their cousins and the brothers and sisters would sit and we'd be poring over the maps of the world. And my father went to the American consulate and he looked up our names and it listed in different towns in America. And then he made me write to them asking if they were relatives and would they take us in.
The United States required its own citizens to provide guarantee for Jewish refugees before a visa could be issued, and another 32 countries simply outright rejected them. The Marcus family knocked on every door from March to June, but failed. With little hope left, Lo's father tried his last luck at the Chinese Consulate General, and what was a wild grasp saved the whole family.
And within 15 minutes, he got a visa. And he came home, and I remember that vividly. He said, well, if all else fails, here's a visa.
With the visa in hand, the Marcus finally got on board a ship headed for Shanghai, tens of thousands of miles away. Shanghai was in fact a free port city back then, as the then Chinese government lost control over the city during the war. No visa was needed to get on shore. Then why did the Consul General issue one?
My father fashioned an ingenious way to use the entrance visa as a means of exit or escape.
It was proved effective by many Jewish families.
According to my father, if it wasn't for the visas that they had already, that my grandfather would not have been released. They released my grandfather, especially my father was released that night, but my grandfather was released the next day.
As there was no existing procedure to obtain a Chinese visa, a number of Jews rushed there for their life tickets. Ho's actions became the key force in putting Shanghai on the map for Jewish refugees as a safe haven. But the diplomat came under firing from both the Nazi government and the Chinese government, which ordered a stop to its visa issuing.
China-Germany relations were bad back then. The Chinese government was trying to isolate Japan and gain help from other countries, so it didn't want to worsen ties with Germany.
However, Ho stuck to his cause. He was eventually stripped of his post and sent back to China in 1939. The number of visas issued between 1938 and 1939 by Ho Fengshan is unknown. But based on the only surviving documentation, it's possible the Chinese consulate in Vienna issued an average of 500 visas a month to Jews in the nearly 2 years after the annexation. Ho died in 1997 at the age of 97. Though he was the reason many lived to tell the tale, he never met any of them again in his lifetime. Li Qiong, CCTV.